Hi. You wanted me to show you step by step how you prepare the fish for smoking. And this is step one. You take the fish, dead fish, you cut it open, you start here. And as you see, I keep the knife short. Here you got to be a little bit careful that you cut it all the way through, but don't cut into the guts, because then when this goes open and the inside will mess up the meat. So then I push my thumb in here. You see the heart coming out. Then I cut here around the gills. Go with my fingers through the gills. Open this here with my thumb. Go under it with my other thumb. And take it off here. And then rip it all out all together, including the swim bladder. And this is the kidneys. You cut it open like this, because later I show you how to scratch this out. So this fish is already prepared for brining or for grilling or whatever you want to do it. So I show you again, but without explaining, just to show you how it works. You got to get a feeling for it, of course. And what I do is pretty professional, because I've been doing it for years. Of course, I haven't done it in a long time, that's true, but yeah, once you learn it, you never forget, like riding a bike. And when you're really good, you manage to have the swim bladder on this whole package here. This is gills, liver, and everything else. So then don't forget to cut the kidneys, because it's necessary for later. Okay, see you again later when I show you the next step. Okay, now I show you how to make the brine. I always weigh the fish when they are whole. So now you got to listen carefully for the relation to fish, water and salt. Per 1 kilogram of fish I use 1 liter of water, and per liter of water I use 80 grams of salt. So I have 18 kilograms of fish here. I have 18 liters of water, and I have 1.44 kilograms of salt. So this is how you make the brine. It's actually really simple. You just put it in here and you stir it around until it's dissolved. You can see it and cannot feel it anymore. Then the brine is done. And then what you do next is you take the fish, come here, under running water, and you clean out here where the gill were. Then you scratch out the kidneys. Here are some spines that are always hard to clean, so I take my spoon like this, cut it open kinda, and then scratch it out. Then I scratch out the blood in the veins that you can see. Clean it good, because then you don't have to clean it so much the next time. You don't have to make it really clean, because you're gonna clean it the next time again anyway. So this is basically how it's supposed to look, like this. And then as I have a bigger scale, like you I guess, I put it in the box usually here. But as you see, you could also put it in the brine right away. So this is the next step. We are 12 to 24 hours later. This is how long they should stay in the brine, to that the salt can get into the whole fish. And then you just hold it under the tap water, you clean it out, all the blood. Sometimes there's some fat or anything hanging off here. Just scratch it out, rub off the slime. That's it. And now you're ready to go for smoking. And how you smoke it, I'll tell you in a minute. Bye. So here we have the fish now that are out of the brine and cleaned. And now I'm going to hang them up for smoking in the oven. I have those special fish smoking hooks. They have 2 hooks in here, so they're fixed on 2 points. Those are pro hooks. I don't know if you can get them or not. If you cannot get them, you can use the normal meat hooks. You can get them at the butcher supply, I guess, or maybe at your local butcher even. With them, you put them through the mouth and put them in here. Problem is, the hole is pretty big and it's only fixed on one point. So sometimes if the fish is too heavy, it could rip off and fall down. That's why I prefer the other hook. With this hook, you put it, you can see the big hole from the meat hook here. With this hook, you put it here, maybe on the 6th or 7th rib, on the right side of the spine, and on the bottom here on the left side on the spine. And just press it in, that's it. And then you hang it up. You see how I prepared this? I have 2 boxes standing here with the little sticks hanging on them. And now I hang up all the fish that fit into my oven. And when I'm done with that, I show you at the oven at what details you have to take care when you smoke the fish actually. Okay, now you have to focus a little bit more because now you get all the details that you need to smoke the fish perfect. So as you see, I hung up all the fish now. I figured out that I fit 19 fish perfect in my oven because they shouldn't touch the surrounding of the oven and they shouldn't touch each other, because where they touch each other, no smoke can get there. So yeah, I just show you what I mean. And also important is, I heated the oven up before I hung up the fish, so I have some coals in here. So you have a little bit of temperature in the grill already, or in the oven already. And what I else do, I put a thermos in the biggest fish. Why in the biggest fish? Because of course the biggest fish reaches the temperature at last. So if the biggest fish reached the core temperature, then all the other fish, the smaller fish, are done too, obviously. So this is what I do. Stick it all the way in, right next to the spine. Hang it up and push it to the back. Make sure it doesn't touch the back side. Here is a little bit of space between two. So now make sure they don't touch each other, as I said. Now they still feel a little bit slimy. I show you later, because you got to dry them first before you start the smoking. They got to feel a little bit sticky, like they had glue on their skin or so. So I can totally recommend this thermos here. It has 2 thermos and remote, so I can even put it in my apartment. I can sit in the garden wherever I want. I always know the temperature of the oven, which is here, and the temperature within the biggest. Okay, now here's the second row of fish. Make sure they don't touch each other, as I said, here, in the back, and to the side too. And now I show you what I meant. Well, I figured out that I can fit 19 fish perfect in there, because with this third stick, I always use only 4 fish, because I can put them in the gap between the 5 fish on the bottom. And as I, by learning by doing, got to know my smoking oven, you of course have to get to know your oven too. I'm using coal. There are gas ovens on the market too. I can't say anything bad about it. It's just you need heat, and you need the smoking, the sawmill, as you see here, or you can use chunks too, as I have here, or stuff like this, chips. You can use basically everything. So okay, it's always harder when you have big fish like here. This is okay, but they shouldn't be any bigger than that. So here you have a thermos too, but as I use this one, this digital one, I don't look at it really. Okay, first step is you close the door. And you open this here all the way. Because as I already said, you have to dry the skin. I set an alarm on this thermos at the low temperature of 60, because I know at around 60 degrees of the temperature in the oven, this is just the temperature in the fish. You see it is 19 degrees Celsius right now. When it reaches 60 degrees, I open the door and I touch the fish, and when they're like glue, like a little bit of sticky, then I close this flap here, like this maybe, and then I put the sawmill or chunks or whatever you want to put on it, and then it produces the smoke. This is where the actually smoking process starts then. So for now we're done. I have some extra coals on my fireplace, so if I see that the temperature doesn't rise, the high temperature, I set an alarm on 110, because this is the maximum temperature on smoking fish. For me personally, it's between 80 and 90 degrees. It takes longer, but you get a better result and a better color on the fish. Like, yeah, you'll see, I show you later. So now this is the next step of smoking. As you see here, we reached 65 degrees in the oven, 30 degrees within the fish itself. And now I open this and touch it. These feel dry because the hot heat, very important, indirect heat, and you gotta put something in between the coals or whatever you use for heating it up and the fish. These fish here, they are a little bit sticky, as I said. I can feel it. So now is the time to put in the smoke, or to start the smoke. Therefore, I put on some protection gloves, one chunk, and if you want some smoking meal or sawmill or whatever you use, but very important, not on the coals, on the side, because they will light up anyway, and you don't want them to burn, you want them to produce smoke. And when you put it on the coals, then you choke the coals, and the temperature within the oven will go down, which would be really bad. So, and you have to play with the air. The more you open this, the more air it gets through, the hotter the coals will burn. So yeah, as I said, you gotta get used to your oven, get to know it, and of course, as you practice and the more often you do, you get better and better. So now, as you see, I gotta close this here, that the smoke stays inside the oven. And yeah, now we just have to wait until my thermos tells me that the core temperature in the fish reached 67 degrees, and then they're done.